and welcome to episode 4 of Movie Takes. I'm Daniel McFadden, and with me is my good friend James Crow. And today we're once again reviewing a movie that came out years before we were born.
Yes, today we are going to be reviewing Doctor Strangelove. That's short title. Long title, Doctor Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, which is a 1964 political satire black comedy, directed and written by Stanley Kubrick. Also written by Terry Southern, and it's somehow based on a novel by Peter George titled Red Alert.
Red Alert, yeah.
It stars Sterling Harden as Brigadier General Jack D. Ripper.
No one knows who that is. It stars it stars Peter Sellers, George C. Scott, and
I was getting there. This is George C. Scott as General Buck Turgidson, and then Peter Sellers as like four things. Actually, three things.
It was supposed to be 4 things.
It's supposed to be 4 things. It's Group Captain Lionel Mandrake, who has the wonderful mustache. President Merkin Muffley, and Dr. Strangelove.
Who seems like an afterthought in this movie.
Yes.
Even though the movie is titled after him, just like what was the first movie we reviewed, Crow?
Chinatown.
Yeah, classic movies with weird, oddly thought titles that don't make sense.
Yes, and also Slim Pickens as Major T.J. King Kong, aka that guy that you've seen riding the bomb.
Yeah, he's like the one. Okay, yeah. Over the years, whenever I saw something on TV or whatever in some sort of retrospective about movie classics, whenever they showed something about Doctor Strangelove, it was always that. It was always the bomb and him riding it as it was about to explode.
Yeah, and the thing is, originally T.J. Kong was supposed to also be played by Peter Sellers,
which would have been weird.
Yeah, and the story behind that apparently is he at first he thought there's no way I can do a Southern accent, but Stanley Kubrick got Terry Southern, who is oddly enough Southern, to record a audio sample that Peter Sellers spent some time studying and kind of got the accent down, and then he sprung his ankle and couldn't effectively act in the bomber set, so they ended up casting Slim Pickens, who I think does a pretty good job.
I find it odd. Okay, before we get in the movie, I guess what were your expectations for a Stanley Kubrick comedy, which is basically, I guess, his only comedy in his entire filmography, that came out in 1964, and stars a comedian playing 3 roles, and George C. Scott in the comedic role as well.
Well, I will say that it's the first film I think I've ever seen that has someone playing multiple roles that doesn't involve someone dressing up as a woman. But it's nice to see that older comedians have always had a place to go when they're, at some point in their careers. But no, I think expectations for it were actually pretty far off. This is one of those movies I've wanted to watch for a while, and just never got around to it. It really is. Back in the video store days, I wanted to watch it, but it wasn't in any of the local video stores. And I've just never got around to it until we decided to watch it for this.
Yeah.
But based on that one scene, the T.J. Kong riding the bomb down to the ground that everyone's seen, that every time it gets mentioned, that's the clip that gets played.
Yeah.
So spoiler, but that's whatever.
How the movie essentially ends.
Yes.
Almost.
But because of that, I had this idea that it was going to be a little bit more, slapsticky or just goofy, like a more, more like a Blazing Saddles than a just dark comedy with some fairly large comedic bits like that.
And I mean, we'll get to it later, but like if the original ending had been kept in the movie, it would have been that kind of movie.
Yeah.
But so I knew it was going to be um, a satire of the Cold War era and a nuclear bomb explosion. And like I told you before we started recording, I for some reason I somehow as I was grew up, I somehow confused this movie with Some Like It Hot. I don't know why, but they kind of merges into one movie for me. But pretty much all I knew was that it was just a political satire of Cold War era, and I could expect a lot of talk about bombs. But I mean, but yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. This was my second Stanley Kubrick movie after I watched 2001: A Space Odyssey just a couple months ago. Um, I could say I like this one a lot more than 2001: A
I
Space
didn't
Odyssey.
sleep nearly as good during this one.
Yeah, pretty much. Um, yeah, I want to watch this movie again at some point. I think it's one of those movies where I'll get something out of it on second viewing, maybe even the third. But
Yeah, I definitely want to watch it again. For me, even though like my expectations for this film were really far off, I do have read a lot of of this sort of material. One of my I mentioned before one of my favorite books is The Road. When I wrote that, immediately following that, I actually watched read a book titled Alas Babylon, which is a really really interesting two things to read together. The Road is just completely dark, nothing good happens, no optimism whatsoever. And Alas Babylon is this book where you have nuclear war breakout, but it focuses in on this small community that doesn't do so bad. They kind of come together. It's all it's optimistic.
yeah,
And so that's what I kept coming back to is I've put in I've always come back to that comparison whenever I approach any kind of nuclear war, post-apocalyptic thing, or anything like that. And as far as how I feel about those two books together as a whole is exactly kind of how I came what I thought about this film, and that it's this dark comedy, but people, it's not like overwhelmingly dark. It's not
yeah,
like it's there's that lightheartedness that's present in the fact that it's a dark comedy that balances out the heaviness of the actual subject matter.
Well, you said before we started recording that you thought you were watching the prequel to Fallout 3, and having played Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, I've always had this fan theory about that universe. Is that it'd be awesome if the nuclear war in those games was started by accident. Like if someone just like spilled a cup of coffee on a keyboard that launched the rockets or something like that. But or this or Doctor Strangelove. That's what starts Fallout 3. So, but yeah.
Yeah, but I really very thoroughly enjoyed the movie. It's as far as older anything movies that came out before I was born.
Yeah.
It's probably in my top 2 or 3.
Really?
Yeah, I really really enjoyed it.
All right. You like really? Okay, so you think this is like the top 3 movies that you enjoy that came out before you were born?
Yeah, or just in general, just older classic movies. I guess it's really high up there. I know it's the kind of the go-to favorite. I really like Citizen Kane.
What about Casablanca?
Actually, never have watched it.
Watch it. You need to do that. We should probably do that.
I really like dark comedies. I really like satire that is, well done satire.
Yeah.
I really like pretty much just everything that this film is. And even like the fact that I'm watching like a black and white film, I feel like really helped the experience out a lot.
For this movie, yeah, I did.
It felt it felt historical in a way that really made it really brought to it really helped to think about the actual time period that the movie took place.
Mm-hmm.
It puts you in the right mindset for that. There is ever present just terrible thing that can happen, and with this film, it can happen irreparably, even when it's not a conscious decision.
Yeah, because like this movie came out 2 years after the Cuban Missile Crisis, so the one point in our history where we were, that close to saying goodbye.
And it also came out like the January after JFK was killed as well.
Yeah, and they had to overdub a line.
Yeah, originally there was a line that was something along the lines of like
you could have a fun night in Dallas with that.
Yeah, and they changed it to a fun night in Vegas. And then originally there was supposed to be like a test screening the day after, and they had to cancel that. So they ended up not doing a lot of test screenings before the film came out, apparently.
Yeah, I hadn't read that.
But it's
which is weird because when I watched the movie and he said you can have a fun night in Las Vegas, it looked dubbed. So it actually stood out to me while I was watching. It was like, what were they correcting? And then I read about that afterwards. Like, oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, but it's one of those films. The thing about films like this though is that it can be a product of the time period and lose a lot of context. But I think that
it's still relevant.
It's still very relevant, and it's still very just even without the context, I feel like it's still an incredibly enjoyable film.
Oh yeah.
And just from the fact that it's incredibly well directed, it's incredibly well acted. You have a guy playing 3 different roles, and it
flawlessly. Like if I didn't know it, I wouldn't have guessed it.
Yeah, and even though the fact that the 3 roles he plays are pretty over the top, quirky type characters, it still works within the context of the film just absolutely perfectly.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Peter Sellers, he's from England, right? I believe he was English, and his when he's in the role as the American president, like that was a really good American accent.
Yeah,
like Hugh Laurie house good accent. Like it didn't come off as fake or anything, but no, like I really liked Peter Sellers in this. Like when he's the British officer, like I loved his nervousness about what the situation he was in with the rogue general. He seemed intelligent. He was the smartest guy in the room, kind of thing.
Yeah, he played that so perfectly because it felt exactly like, if you've ever been around someone who's just not right in their head, that's the way you kind of act with them is just spot on with how he was acting. Where you're like, kind of going along with it, afraid to really challenge him.
Yeah, you don't want to say the wrong thing.
But at the same time, just trying to give those little hints of sanity back to them, and hopefully they'll grab onto it, and they never do.
Yeah, it was the whole impetus for the general to launch that attack it's amusing. His inadequacy in his sexual relationship with his wife.
Yes. Here, before we get too far into it, we're just gonna say spoilers. It's an old movie. If you've already been spoiled quite a bit. It's an old movie. You should watch it. It's really good. Go watch it and then watch the rest of this. So the plot of this film is basically Brigadier General Jack D. Ripper decides that it's up to the generals to win the war. And take it out of the hands of the politicians. So he calls for, was it Plan R, or
yes, Plan R,
which basically means it's a plan that's put in place in case Washington's attacked, the president dies. The president being the only person that can technically issue a nuclear attack. Mm-hmm. Well, it's a protocol for when he dies, where the generals can call for a nuclear retaliation.
No. I think it's not a general, like a lower. Well, maybe a general, like just a lower.
Or captain. Just the people that are directly in charge of the bombing groups are able to call for a nuclear retaliation.
Yeah.
And so, Brigadier General Ripper calls for the Plan R. He puts the base on lockdown. He pulls all the radios, any kind of outside communication he does away with. And part of this, Plan R is that the bombers have to go into this special mode where they can only receive communications with a special code, which he is the only one that knows it.
A 3-digit code.
The 3-digit code. It's a prefix for their messages.
Which leads to like an air fort, like the 101 Airborne or whatever, something like that, invading this. Wasn't it in Texas? Like the base was in Texas, something like that. Which
I'm not sure, but I wouldn't be surprised. It seems like Texas actually plays a pretty decent role at least with the story behind the film.
But it leads to this like airborne division attacking the general's base in order to get the code, which like the sequences that are filmed outside of the attack looked like a documentary.
Yeah.
Like it looked like it looked like you're watching something from World War II.
Yeah.
Or something like that, which was impressive. Like it looked something out of just a documentary.
Yeah. So the result is you have all the president and all his advisors and then whatnot. They meet up in the war room and brief him on what's going on.
The best lit war room.
Yes.
In the Western.
Just the best. The design was amazing. But the president ends up bringing in the ambassador from Russia and gets the president of Russia on the phone.
Okay, and I tweeted this out while I was watching it. Okay, I tweeted, I would watch a one-man show of Peter Sellers as the U.S. president talking on the phone to Dmitri.
Yes.
I would watch a one-man show of that. Yes.
So Dmitri, who is the president of Russia or whatever they're called, is apparently drunk, as he is called. He's drunk on vodka because he's Russian.
Yeah.
And so the conversation that Peter Sellers as the president has with Dmitri is absolutely my favorite part of the film, because he's basically having to it's like if you ever heard
wait, hold on, let's see if there's let's see if we can find this conversation on YouTube.
Hello Dmitri. Listen, I can't hear too well. Do you suppose you could turn the music down just a little? Oh, that's much better. Yeah. Yes. Fine, I can hear you now, Dmitri. Clear and plain and coming through fine. I'm coming through fine too, eh? Good, then. Well then, as you say, we're both coming through fine. Good. Well, it's good that you're fine then, and I'm fine. I agree with you. It's great to be fine. Now then, Dmitri, you know how we've always talked about the possibility of something going wrong with the bomb. The bomb, Dmitri. The hydrogen bomb. Well, now, what happened is one of our base commanders, he had a sort of, well, he went a little funny in the head. You know, just a little funny. And he went and did a silly thing. Well, I'll tell you what he did. He ordered his planes to attack your country. Well, let me finish, Dmitri. Let me finish, Dmitri. Well, listen, how do you think I feel about it? Can you imagine how I feel about it, Dmitri?
Yeah, I love the phone conversation. It is definitely my favorite part.
If it wasn't friendly, you probably wouldn't have received it.
Yeah. But what ends up happening in the film is the presidents of the U.S. and Russia basically, well, the president of the U.S. tells the Russian military where the planes are coming in, hopes that they can stop them in case they can't. And then the planes get damaged, and the plane that's flown by Slim Pickens gets damaged. They end up having to find a different target than the one they originally were going for, and then he ends up having to force the bomb out of the plane and rides it down to the ground, and that's where the very hilarious scene of him falling out of the plane comes from. That we've all seen.
I before seeing the movie, I'd always interpreted that scene as him intentionally riding the bomb down to the ground for whatever reason.
Yeah, I did as well. That's why I had that misunderstanding about what the tone of the movie was going to be. Scene was, it was great, but it was completely different than what it looks like out of context.
Yeah, absolutely. Which adds to the pleasure of the movie, I guess. But the main theme of the film, at least not the theme. The main thing is that they built this machine. I don't think there is a machine. There's
well,
no,
when I say machine, they built this series of things, and this protocols and bombs and military and all that stuff, and once it's set in motion, it's showing like the kind of the danger of this kind of thing, as far as it takes one lever to get pushed, whether intentionally or not, and
and everything's over.
And everything's over. And
pretty soon after they first mentioned the Doomsday Machine, I came to the conclusion that there wasn't a Doomsday Machine. The Doomsday Machine is the idea of a Doomsday Machine, which would keep your enemy from launching an attack. So that the only thing, the deterrent of nuclear war, really the only deterrent is mutually assured destruction. That's it.
Well, I mean, as far as the Doomsday Machine that exists in the context of the film, I think that
I don't think there is one.
Well, I do, because the closing of the film is the kind of the beauty shots of all the nuclear bombs going on, and I think the point of it is that you can't part of it is that you can't be sure exactly how far your enemy is going to take things. Nobody believed what was happening was really happening at first. Everybody, the pilots, the radio people, they're all just like,
this is a drill, this is a test to see how far we'll take it.
Yeah. And they just kept, but they, because of the machine, and machine, what I mean is not the Doomsday Machine, just the machine of what they're doing, the bombing and all stuff, is there, and they're following their protocols because they're supposed to follow the protocols, and without because of this flaw that kind of almost exists necessarily for the intention of what they're trying to do. It just becomes inevitable that something bad is going to happen, and the world will change regardless of how catastrophic it is.
Yeah, but yeah, I came to the conclusion that there actually wasn't a doomsday machine. They were just they invented the idea of it in order to intimidate the Americans. That's the conclusion I came to.
Well, the reason why I think that it was an actual thing is because it wasn't something that they were dreading as soon as all this happened. It was it was something that was mentioned to the ambassador by the president, like after the fact, after these events were inevitable. And they were having to take steps to try and avoid it. It didn't serve a purpose other than to say, hey guys, we've really screwed up here. It's about to get a lot worse than you think it is.
Yeah. But I love the as soon as the general or whatever orders the attack or whatever, essentially the Cold War is over in that moment.
Yeah.
And at the end of the movie, they're already talking about what to do with the Russians or whatever once they come out of the mine shafts. So already the second Cold War has already started.
Yes.
It's like I loved that. It's like that minutes after the first Cold War has ended, the next one's already started, and that's something I found rather amusing.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, like there's a line about the mine shaft gap.
The mine shaft.
Which is them making fun of the missile gap, which is the disparity in firepower between the two parties and stuff, and how they need to increase it or decrease it or whatever.
Yeah. But I like we cannot allow a mine shaft gap.
Yes.
Which is spoken by George C. Scott, who is the secret MVP of this movie.
Yes. I loved him. His best acting was when he was not delivering lines.
Yes. Okay, here's the thing. Like I told you before we started recording, I read Roger Ebert's essay about the movie, and he said he wrote the essay after watching the movie for like the 10th time. He said, I just now noticed George C. Scott's facial expressions in this movie. I was like, it took you until the 10th viewing? I made a note of it. Was George C. Scott's facial expressions in this movie? And I'm not saying I'm a more astute viewer than Roger Ebert. That's no, never, absolutely not. But that I've already seen a George C. Scott movie this year. I watched Patton, and so seeing him in that dramatic role and then seeing this in this overtly comedic role, like you said, his facial expressions were amazing. I've never seeing someone work his eyebrows the way he did in Dr. Strangelove was so entertaining, so good.
He played that perfect, person that understands the gravity of what's going on and just can't sit still and watch someone make decisions that he disagrees with. Like everything about his character was just like,
But he's also enjoying it. I think that's also evident. Like he's enjoying the situation at the same time.
Yeah. He's oddly like impassioned in just everything he's doing, as far as he's the one that in the film calls for, well, it's already happening, so let's just go all out. Which is basically the hope of General Ripper is that they will do that. they will see the inevitability of what's going on and just strike first and get the whole Cold War thing over with.
Okay, yeah. Well, like this scene. Well, let's play. Let me. I love this scene.
Mr. President, if I may speak freely, the Rusky talks big, but frankly, we think he's short of know-how. I mean, you just can't expect a bunch of ignorant peons to understand a machine like some of our boys. And that's not meant as an insult, Mr. Ambassador. I mean, you take your average Rusky, we all know how much guts he's got. Hell, look at all of them Nazis killed off, and they still wouldn't quit.
Can't you stick to the point, General?
Well, sir, if the pilot's good, see, I mean, if he's really sharp, he can barrel that baby in so low. I mean, you ought to see it sometime. It's a sight. A big plane like a 52. Vroom! This jet exhaust frying chickens in the barnyard.
Yeah, but has he got a chance?
Has he got a chance? Hell, he's...
See, like he's excited about what's going on around him. That's that's the one time he allowed himself to like, this is awesome. Like,
see, I took that a lot as just like him just being overwhelmingly like patriotic and in love with like the idea of the military, as you know, only like a small child can be. You know, he's just that sort of thing where it's just, you know, he's, you know, making, you know, vroom noises and
he can barrel roll.
Yes.
Hell yeah. It's like, our guys are good. But no, I really enjoyed George C. Scott's performance. Like I had seen him in Patton earlier this year, which he was awarded the Best Actor award, but he refused to accept it because he didn't see acting as a competition. But he nailed it in this movie. I really liked him.
Yeah, I was also, you know, on a odd note, the scene with his, I guess, secretary / girlfriend was it felt like a like proto like scene from Mad Men.
Which you stopped watching in season 2.
Somewhere in there.
You need to watch it again. You really do. But no, yeah, it's proto Mad Men, yeah. Which his mistress in that scene.
So, what were your thoughts on the actual Dr. Strangelove character that was in the film?
I don't know, because he seems like an afterthought. Like I'm not sure he's introduced until like there's like maybe 15 or 20 minutes left in the movie. But I feel like somehow everything that happens in the movie is a result of him somehow. Like he,
you know, watching it, you know, this much after it's come out, I'm sure there's some kind of context that I missed. From what I kind of can take from it, I almost feel like it's a, you know, commentary, like his existence is like a commentary on the way the U.S. did, you know, basically give, you know, a pass to a lot of Nazi scientists,
yeah,
who immigrated to the U.S. after World War II, and maybe that, you know, some of these, you know, not so much these people, but some of the thoughts that, you know, we would, that if they were Nazi thoughts, we would call absolutely evil and just, you know, completely immoral, have made their way into society.
Well,
but like,
I have no doubt in my mind, many of the German scientists who were assigned to build, you know, their rockets and stuff weren't evil. They were just working for the wrong people. But I think Dr. Strangelove is meant to say, yeah, we're capable of doing these horrible things, and it's because we employed people who serve these horrible people.
yeah, and it even could just be, you know, a kind of representation of the fact that we've let some of those ideas infiltrate, our society. We've become, what we fought against sort of thing as well.
Yeah, yeah. A little, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I think you're right
But
about
even
that.
then, I say that purely as a guess. He really wasn't that evil of a character at all. He just kind of had that archetype to him. He just, he was the one that just kind of assumed everything was, he was the first person to think post-war in the film. When he starts talking about the bunker, the mine shafts and the bunkers,
but not just the mine shafts. He's also talking about the right type of people who should survive.
Yes,
which is a very Nazi thing.
Yes, and also the 10-to-1 female to male ratio, which
George C. Scott's character
he was okay with.
Yeah. I like his idea, Mr. President. He might not be far off. But like both George C. Scott's character and Dr. Strangelove, they're both excited about the prospects of what could happen as a result of this attack, and Dr. Strangelove is so excited he's cured of his illness, which is how the note the movie ends on. I can walk, which is a weird note, but it's only weird because of what got cut from the movie.
Okay, so what got cut from the movie, Daniel? I actually do not know.
You don't?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, the original ending to this movie was like after Dr. Strangelove stands up and can walk. Somehow I don't know the particulars. The movie ends with a giant pie fight. Like, whipped cream pies. That's what it dissolves into.
That's wonderful.
Which would have made it the slapstick movie you thought it was going to be.
Yeah, exactly.
It just dissolves into a pie fight, and it got cut because they realized it would kind of ruin the movie. Like, look it up. Look up Dr. Strangelove pie fight.
Yeah, I would have actually probably enjoyed. Like, I do love the way it ended. That would have been really interesting though. But the actual, the way it ended, it has like the, beauty shots of the like nuclear explosion set to "We'll Meet Again," which is that above all else is the Fallout connection. The
music,
the music and the devastation put together.
Well, I mean, it's like you can put it elevated, not elevated, whatever. It just signified that like what you're watching is terrible, but it's also beautiful.
Yes.
Because I mean, mushroom cloud that could kill thousands and thousands of people, but it's also like a really cool thing. Like it, as long as it is set to 1950s jazz or whatever. But
to me, it's just the type of movies that you would hear, the type of music that you would hear in a detective movie or something, like with some chick singing in a bar.
We'll meet again once we leave the mine shaft.
But I really, really like the film. I really want to watch it again, probably fairly soon.
Really?
Yeah, I really liked it, and I feel like, it's one of those movies that I feel like I could have stopped it, gone back and rewatched it, and still just massively enjoyed it. Overall, the only real complaint is just the last like 15 minutes of it go by a lot faster than everything else to me. slightly different tone, not in a major way, just a little. It's a little different more than anything. I guess it rushes to the bomb drop a little bit, but that's a very, very minor, insignificant complaint. But the acting, the writing, just everything, I just really, really enjoyed and liked. Mm-hmm. And even like the crappy practical effects with the plane flying.
Yeah,
still, I still enjoy it. You know,
like I made a note of it. It's like they started out using archive footage or whatever of B-52s, and then didn't you instantly realize, oh, that's a model? Like you could tell.
Yeah,
like that.
Well, not only did they start out with like stock footage of the B-52, they found the most sexual looking like stock footage ever. It was intentional. I know. I see your face in the little window down here. It was very intentionally done with it's a refueling, so you basically have the one jet, sticking its hose into the other, and okay. I without having read anything about the use of like the use of like sexual imagery in the film before watching it, that really stuck out for me. But it also kind of set the tone in a weird way. From whatever seeing, like a lot of people's take is that the ongoing theme in the film is like frustration, whether it be sexual or whatever. That's why gum plays such a significant role.
I was going to mention that. I was going to mention gum
because gum is a stand-in for like wanting to do something and not being able to. So if you're trying not to smoke or
George C. Scott's character is constantly chewing gum. Like the entire movie.
Yes, he is chain chewing gum. But even like the emergency survival kit has like
9 sticks? I think it was like
it was like 9 packs of gum or something like that. It was a lot of it was like 9 packs of gum.
Yeah,
one prophylactic. So
yeah, the survival pack stood out to me, and it was the gum. Also, Peter Sellers' character, his British character, in one scene when he's in the office with General Ripper, he's holding a stick of gum.
Yeah,
he's just holding it. That's it. I don't think he ever chews it or anything, but he's just holding it. So that was 3 times where gum was played a part in the movie. Yeah, I'm glad you noticed that.
Yeah, but like I said, like it was odd enough to me that I looked it up, and that seems to be like kind of a lot of people's take on it is that it represents frustration, whether it be the Ripper's kind of frustration with like you mentioned his wife,
mm-hmm.
and or the Mandrake, General Turgidson's just general frustration with having to leave his secretary / girlfriend, mistress. Him being shut down by the president, and the president not really listening to his advice. Because that's the point where he's just annihilating packs and packs of gum is when the president is just not listening to him.
Oh yeah. Well, like I bring this up because I tonight I watched the season 2 movie of Star Wars Rebels, which has James Earl Jones returning to voice Darth Vader, which is amazing. You need to watch it, Crow. But Dr. Strangelove, and I saw his name in the credits and then immediately forgot about it for some reason. But this is James Earl Jones' first film credit.
That explains why, like, he just barely appears.
No, he's in the bomber that's on its way to deliver the bomb, and he has a few lines, and it didn't register. Like, I saw his name in the credits, like, oh, James Earl Jones. Then I forgot about it, and even when he showed up in the movie, I didn't realize, oh, that's James Earl Jones. But yeah, this is his first film credit, which came out in 1964, so 13 years before people heard his voice as Darth Vader. When Peter Sellers' character is being escorted by the army officer, he makes him get change out of the Coca-Cola machine.
Yes. Yeah, I believe the line is...
You'll have to answer the Coca-Cola company for this.
Yes. Yes.
I made a note of that. You'll have to answer the Coca-Cola company for this.
So, I think we both really, really enjoyed the film. Like I've said a couple times, I think I'm going to be revisiting it, which isn't something I do very often for any movie, really.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed it. It's definitely right up my alley to begin with, but just the fact how well made it is overall just makes it absolutely amazing to me.
It makes me wish Stanley Kubrick had done more comedies.
Yes. Yeah. I really like watching films like this that are super influential because you get to, it elevates everything else that's referenced it. People that are put little bits and pieces, or I'm sure that I will see people manhandling gum and spot little references to Dr. Strangelove from now on, and which you don't need to see the film to see all the references to the guy riding the bomb to the ground. I really like it, and I would recommend it. I've actually already recommended it to my wife. It's like, hey, you need to go watch this movie.
Are you sure? Are you sure you can get her to sit down and watch that?
Probably not, but maybe.
I'd love to know how that goes.
Yeah, and since she has started, watching these, I love you. Don't, yeah. But yeah, I think this is my favorite film that we've watched so far. And talked about for sure. It's my, in the top 3 of older films for sure. So yeah.
But no, yeah, I would wholeheartly recommend this movie. It's a movie I wish they should show on TV more. I don't know why but I think the only TV channel that would show it is TCM.
So cool. Movie is really good. You should check it out. And if you have any thoughts or want to tell us, how stupid our opinions on this are, just leave a comment, like down there. Yeah. And send us an email to movietakes.podcast@gmail.com, or send us a Twitter message of some kind to @movietakespod. Or
you can message me, follow me at Daniel McFadden on Twitter. That's all lowercase, and my last name is spelled McFadin. And you can also see my non-movie work at NBCsports.NASCARtalk.com or NBCsports.motorsportstalk.com.
And if you want to contact me, my Twitter is @Krosky. And as always, I may or may not respond.
Yeah, that's our discussion of Dr. Strangelove, or How I Stopped Worrying. And How I Learned to Love the Bomb? Or
Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb.